Hey there, fellow ISC² Cybersecurity Certification enthusiasts. This series is tailored just for you. We request to take a pen and paper to jot down answers while the video plays. Writing is a powerful cognitive tool that significantly engages the brain in the process of learning a new topic. It involves various cognitive processes and enhances learning through active participation. Let us dive into the questions. Question number 1. Which access control system sets up user permissions based on their roles? Option A, Mandatory Access Control, MAC. Option B, Discretionary Access Control, DAC. Option C, Role-Based Access Control, RBAC. Option D, Attribute-Based Access Control, ABAC. The correct answer is Option C, Role-Based Access Control. With role-based access control, administrators define roles and determine the resources that a role needs access to. Each user is assigned to a role that gives them appropriate permissions to do their job. Users can be part of multiple groups but can only be given one role. Option A, Mandatory Access Control, is incorrect. In mandatory access control, only the system owner manages access control. End user has no control over any privileges. Option B, Discretionary Access Control, is incorrect. The discretionary access control decentralizes security decisions, allowing administrators and resource owners to give access to users at specified levels. Option D, Attribute-Based Access Control, is incorrect. In attribute-based access control, users are able to access resources that have corresponding attributes only. Attributes can include user demographics such as job title or security clearance, resource properties such as file type or creation date, and even environmental characteristics such as access location or time. Question 2. Which devices filter incoming traffic based on a set of rules to enforce administrative security policies? Option A, routers. Option B, firewalls. Option C, hubs. Option D, modems. The correct answer is Option B, firewalls. A firewall is a network security device that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffic and decides whether to allow or block specific traffic based on a defined set of security rules. Option A, routers, is incorrect. Routers connect computers and other devices to the internet. A router acts as a dispatcher, choosing the best route for your information to travel. Option C, hubs, is incorrect. Hub broadcasts data to every computer or Ethernet-based device connected to it. Option D, modems, is incorrect. A modem connects a computer to an internet service provider through a physical connection. The modem translates the data from ISP into a format that network devices can use. Question number 3. Which operating system is manufactured by Apple, that is used for mobile devices? Option A, Linux. Option B, Windows. Option C, Android. Option D, iOS. The correct answer is Option D, iOS. Question number 4. What is the difference between a vulnerability and an exploit? Option A, a vulnerability is a weakness that could be exploited, while an exploit is a tool or technique used to take advantage of a vulnerability. Option B, a vulnerability and an exploit are the same. Option C, a vulnerability is an attack on a system or network, while an exploit is a defense mechanism to prevent attacks. Option D, a vulnerability is a security control, while an exploit is a security threat. The correct answer is Option A. A vulnerability is a weakness or flaw in a system, process, or application that can be exploited by a threat actor to gain unauthorized access or cause damage. An exploit, on the other hand, is a tool or technique used to take advantage of a vulnerability and launch an attack. Exploits are often used by hackers and other threat actors to gain unauthorized access, steal data, or cause damage to systems and networks. Question number 5. Which of the following is an example of a legal and regulatory compliance requirement? Option A. Creating security policies and procedures. Option B. Conducting security awareness training for employees. Option C. Complying with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. Option D. Implementing security controls to prevent unauthorized access. The correct answer is Option C. Complying with the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. Legal and regulatory compliance requirements are laws, regulations, and standards that organizations must comply with to protect against risks and safeguard data and information. The General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is a regulation in the European Union, EU, that sets standards for data protection and privacy. Organizations that collect, process, or store data on EU citizens are required to comply with the GDPR. Question number 6. What is the purpose of a security audit? Option A. To identify vulnerabilities in systems and networks. Option B. To enforce compliance with security policies and regulations. Option C. To determine the root cause of a security incident. Option D. To test the effectiveness of security controls and measures. The correct answer is Option D. A security audit is conducted to evaluate and test the effectiveness of security controls and measures implemented within an organization. It aims to identify gaps, weaknesses, and areas of improvement in the security program. Option A is incorrect. Vulnerabilities in systems and networks are identified during penetration testing. Option B is incorrect, as it is a procedure to adhere to policies and regulations. Option C is incorrect. Root cause analysis is a method of identifying and solving the underlying factors that contribute to a problem or an incident. Question number 7. How do you distinguish authentication and identification? Option A. Identification is the process of verifying a user's identity, while authentication is the process of granting access to a resource. Option B. They both are the same. Option C. Identification and authentication are not related to information security. Option D. Identification is the process of granting access to a resource, while authentication is the process of verifying a user's identity. The correct answer is Option A. Identification is the process of establishing the identity of a user or system, while authentication is the process of verifying that identity and granting access to resources based on that identity. Question number 8. Robert works as a developer at Canon Solutions. As part of his day-to-day activities, he pulls code and enhances and commits the code to the central repository. In terms of access control, how would Robert and the code repository be classified as? Option A. Robert is the subject, the code repository is the object. Option B. Robert is the object, the code repository is the subject. Option C. Both Robert and the code repository are subjects. Option D. Both Robert and the code repository are objects. The correct answer is Option A. Robert is the subject, the code repository is the object. In access control, a subject is the entity that requests access to a resource. In this case, Robert, who is trying to access the code repository, is the subject. The object, on the other hand, is the resource that the subject is attempting to access. In this scenario, the code repository is the object. Option B is incorrect, because Robert, who is requesting access, is not an object but a subject. The code repository is not the one seeking access, so it is not the subject. Option C is incorrect, because the code repository does not initiate an access request, it's the entity being accessed, so it is an object, not a subject. Option D is incorrect, because Robert is not an object, he is the one initiating the request for access, so he is a subject. The code repository, being accessed, is indeed an object. Question number 9. Paul, an IT manager at JW Financials, designing a system to ensure that a transaction made by the owner cannot be denied. Which security measure is this known as? Option A, non-repudiation. Option B, confidentiality. Option C, authorization. Option D, encryption. The correct answer is option A, non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is a property of systems that provides assurance that someone cannot deny the authenticity of their signature on a document or the sending of a message that they originated. Option B, confidentiality, is incorrect. Confidentiality is about keeping information secret and making sure it is not disclosed to unauthorized parties. It doesn't involve proving actions were taken by specific parties. Option C, authorization, is incorrect. Authorization is the process of giving someone permission to do or have something. It doesn't prevent someone from denying an action they took. Option D, encryption, is incorrect. Encryption is a method of converting plaintext into ciphertext to protect it from unauthorized access. It doesn't prevent someone from denying an action they took. Question number 10. At FinRock, a financial institution, it requires both the manager and the accountant to use their access codes one after other to transfer funds exceeding $20,000. Which security concept does this demonstrate? Option A, principle of least privilege. Option B, two-person integrity. Option C, mandatory access control, MAC. Option D, defense in depth. The correct answer is option B, two-person integrity. Two-person integrity, also known as dual control, is a security strategy that requires at least two individuals to complete certain tasks. This principle is employed to prevent fraud or errors. In this case, the fund transfer process requires two individuals, a manager and an accountant, reflecting the two-person integrity principle. Option A, principle of least privilege, is incorrect. This principle states that a user should be given the minimum levels of access, or permissions, needed to perform his or her job functions. It doesn't apply here because the scenario doesn't involve limiting permissions, but requiring multiple individuals to perform an action. Option C, mandatory access control, MAC, is incorrect. This is a type of access control that relies on system-enforced rules, where the system itself manages access controls based on the organization's security policies. It doesn't apply here as the scenario doesn't involve system-level access rules, but a specific control measure involving two people. Option D, defense in depth, is incorrect. This strategy involves using multiple layers of security controls to protect information and systems. In this scenario, we're not looking at multiple layers of security but a specific control measure involving two individuals. Question number 11. Deckard discovered that an unknown person has obtained access to his company's database without any authorization. How can this situation is interpreted as? Option A, breach. Option B, intrusion. Option C, 0-day. Option D, exploit. The correct answer is option A, breach. This scenario describes a breach, which involves the unauthorized access, compromise, disclosure, or acquisition of data. Option B, intrusion, is incorrect. An intrusion involves unauthorized access to system resources, but it does not specify data access. Option C, 0-day, is incorrect. A 0-day is a previously unknown system vulnerability that can be exploited, which isn't explicitly mentioned in this scenario. Option D, exploit, is incorrect. An exploit refers to a specific attack exploiting system vulnerabilities, but does not necessarily imply unauthorized data. Question number 12. Gary, an IT associate, is informed that one of his company's solid-state drive, SSD, is not in use. What is the best approach for him to sanitize the SSD? Option A, clearing. Option B, degaussing. Option C, zero fill. Option D, disintegration. The correct answer is option D, disintegration. Due to problems with remnant data, the U.S. National Security Agency requires physical destruction of SSDs. This process is known as disintegration, results in very small fragments via a shredding process. Zero-fill wipes a drive by replacing data with zeros, degaussing uses magnets to wipe magnetic media, and clearing is the process of preparing media for reuse. Question number 13. Wei was recently offered a consulting opportunity as a side job. He is concerned that this might constitute a conflict of interest with his current company. Which one of the following sources that he needs to refer to take an appropriate decision? Option A, ISC² Security Policy. Option B, ISC² Code of Ethics. Option C, Organizational Code of Ethics. Option D, Organizational Security Policy. The correct answer is option C, Organizational Code of Ethics. The situation Wei finds himself is an ethical dilemma, and a code of ethics would be the best place to look for guidance. This situation is specific to his employer, so he should turn to her organization's code of ethics. Question number 14. NetOak, one of the hardware companies, makes a document called Acceptable Use that defines what the company allows users to do or not do on their work systems. The company requires new employees to read and sign this. What is this type of document called? Option A, Policy. Option B, Control. Option C, Standard. Option D, Procedure. The correct answer is option A, Policy. Policies are normally written documents that define an organization's goals and actions. Acceptable use policies are very common. Option B, Control, is incorrect. Control objectives identify leading practices. Controls identify desired conditions that are expected to be met. Option C, Standard, is incorrect. Standards are mandatory courses of action, or rules that give formal policies support and direction. Option D, Procedure, is incorrect. Procedures are extremely detailed, and may frequently change as they incorporate new methods. Question number 15. Which of the following type of algorithms encrypts data on a fixed length to produce a seemingly random output of the same size? Option A, asymmetric algorithm. Option B, block cipher algorithm. Option C, symmetric algorithm. Option D, streaming cipher algorithm. The correct answer is option B, block cipher algorithm. Block cipher algorithms operate on a fixed-length block of data to produce a seemingly random output of the same size. Option A, asymmetric algorithms, is incorrect. In an asymmetric cryptographic process, one key is used to encipher the data, and a different but corresponding key is used to decipher the data. Option C, symmetric algorithms, is incorrect. Symmetric key algorithms are sometimes referred to as secret key algorithms. In this algorithm, single key is used for both encryption and decryption. Option D, streaming cipher algorithms, is incorrect. A stream cipher encryption is a method of encrypting text, in which a cryptographic key and algorithm are applied to each binary digit in a data stream, one bit at a time. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos.